Hey friendo, Steve here. Welcome back to the show. So I watched NXT Deadline this weekend and I asked for your guys' hot takes. So we're going to read your hot takes and I'm going to respond to them. That's how it works over here at WrestleJuice. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys noticed, people who've been around here for WrestleJuice for a little while know that I had to get rid of the Eco title because I didn't have room, or I made room and then I changed up how I did my lens a little bit. So now I got all three of them, and Phil's title right there is the centerpiece there. So everybody wins on that thing. Anyways, let's go ahead and dive into your hot takes. Number one, Drew Diesel. It's on the thumbnail. Says this version of NXT is producing more main roster talent than any era of NXT before. Now, obviously, this isn't specific to Deadline, but Deadline was a great indication, I thought, of like where NXT is headed. And yes, it was a great litmus test in terms of where are they now and what can you see for the future of the stars that are in the current NXT class. And I kind of agree with this take. I feel like especially, man, WWE's they're going to have kind of a problem coming up soon because they have got, I'm talking about soon, like over the next 1 to 3 years, they have got such a loaded women's division and they don't spend enough time or creative energy on the women's division on main roster. That's going to have to change. I'm talking about factions. I'm talking about sagas. I'm talking about big stories because the talent there is so tremendous. They're going to have to figure out something to do. I know SmackDown and Raw are both going to be going 3 hours. They're going to need to do less recap packages and more story, simply because there is so much talent there. And it's a good thing that they're introducing those mid-card titles now because they are going to need them over the next couple of years. But also, when you take a look at the talent that they've produced over the last year when it comes to the men, and I think that's sort of like the one area where you could see a little bit of weakness. Some people have mentioned, for example, in this particular thread, Trick Williams' title run hasn't been the most significant because there hasn't been a significant number of good challengers for him. Although it does seem like there are some on the horizon, guys like Wes Lee, guys like, and I'm sure Obafemi is probably going to be the guy, I have a hair right here, to take that title off of Trick. So then you're looking at the reverse. What kind of face situation is there? Well, you got Javon Evans, even Lexus King, who I actually really appreciate what they've been doing with Lexus King as of recently. And so you've got a lot of great talent, but there's also talent that kind of on the down low is really good because everybody's like, oh yeah, Fraxium right now could totally go to main roster, but you got their challengers at Deadline, Tavion Heights and Miles Bourne, and it's like, oh shit, like those guys could be within 5 years probably closer to like 2 years, some really great call-ups, and within 5 years, some really strong members of the current main roster WWE product. So, I mean, especially when you look at the main event with the women, it's hard to disagree with this at the very least for the women. The thing also is that producing can mean developing, and I think they're doing a really good job developing the men's division, but they're in a deeper hole because so many of them aren't, like in the women's division, very prominent free agent signings. Trick Williams was basically being developed exclusively developed in-house. Obafemi developed in-house. Javon Evans had a little bit of time. He actually had a cut. He's actually had I think 5 years. That dude started young. He started at 16, I think. And I think he's 21 now or something like that, 22. So they've got some really phenomenal pieces. And I think at the end of the day, finally, after all this time, now that the 2.0 era is way in the past and they're firmly now in the CW era where things are looking a lot more like it did in the black and gold era, I think people might look back on this in 15 years or 10 years and say, yeah, this is when it really picked up. And you started to see, because when you look at what the black and gold era producing, granted, I think a lot of that was Vince McMahon not appreciating what Triple H was doing, but there was some talent that honestly, I have half a script written for this particular video. But when you look at the class of NXT, the classic black and gold 2017 to 2019 group, you can look at individually, or you can look at that class and be like, man, they really left an impact on NXT. But if you really analyze and break down piece by piece who there could have main evented WrestleManias, I don't know that that class was a particularly, especially given all the circumstances around a couple of the wrestlers. But again, that's like a video for another time. But in any event, yeah, no, this version of NXT is doing a killer job, especially, man, if you look at everybody in that main event. Oh my God. I mean, like Fraxium, I think they should be a killer tag team, because I feel like tag teams can go pretty far being their size. But until dudes like Nathan Frazier and Axiom doesn't need to bulk up. He's got that small dude really, really quick thing, and Frazier does too. But if they want to advance as singles guys, I feel like they got to bulk up a little bit, just because that's what WWE prefers out of their singles wrestlers. The tag team dudes, they could be smaller. Look at Ciampa and Gargano. They're not huge guys. Look at, obviously, Motor City Machine Guns. Not huge guys. So, Obafemi, that dude's going to be a potential WrestleMania main eventer. He's got size. Trick Williams got size. He's going to be a potential main event WrestleMania guy. But yeah, there's a lot of depth there in NXT right now for all the divisions on main roster coming up for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years. So, yeah, they're doing a hell of a job right now, probably better than the Black and Gold did. And as a big Black and Gold fan, that's hard for me to say. Dorento6642 says they need to get rid of that weird sponge brick. I agree with that, man. That shit does not look real at all. I thoroughly enjoyed. Look, I'm a huge Jada Parker fan. I like Lola Vice, and I love that this is kind of like a feud they can keep on going back to. I'd be surprised if this was it for them. They're probably going to revisit this. Maybe they'll revisit it over the North American title. They can revisit it over the NXT Women's Championship. It's a terrific feud. I really like both competitors. I really like Jada Parker. That sponge brick's got to go, man. It's not convincing anybody of anything. Get rid of that thing. All right, here's a bit of a cold take because I agree with it. Blake Whitehouse says Ethan Page's character's acting during his interactions with Obafemi, which were hilarious, made me realize he's perfect for the upper mid card on main roster. Yeah, he's one guy who probably maybe shouldn't have even gone to NXT. I mean, I get why he's there, because they desperately need dudes like him, but he is custom made for the main roster. I mean, dude, he's been wrestling, what did he say, 15, 18 years, I think 18 years, something like that. So yeah, he should be going to main roster really soon. I don't know what they were teasing with him in terms of like him having a crisis of confidence, but yeah, Ethan Page probably should be on main roster at the very latest a year from now. This is a bit of a hot take, and I feel like, the Art Fracture here says, I love how unhinged Booker T is. I know 13 of you thumbs this up. I would thumb it. I'll thumb it up too right now. I love Booker T. I love him and Vic. I think they make a terrific team. I think they're a lot of fun. There was one moment that really stood out that I was like, oh, that's actually really good. It's when there was all sorts of submission wrestling going on during the women's main event. And Booker T was speaking on it a little bit, and Vic poked fun at him saying, oh yeah, because you were such a submission specialist back in the day. And then he said, yeah, I used to use submission moves. And he said, name one. And then they moved back on. I thought that was a great little bit, because it is a bit of, like, Vic knows Booker T's history. He knows he was never a submission specialist, and so he could poke fun at him a little bit. I love that team. I absolutely love that team. That's a bit of a hot take, though, because I've seen so much criticism of Booker T online because he is so unhinged. I think he's hilarious. I think he's great. I say keep him around, man. He's great. All right, let's see here. TNK1041 says, I love Trick, but his actual title run so far has been marred with non-credible challengers and has really exposed the fact that he has a long way to go as far as his in-ring. That Ridge match was yet another case. Even beyond that, and Mellow matches included, he's yet to even sniff the level of performance he had in those Ilya matches, which speaks more to how good Ilya is. Here's the thing. This is the thing about this. When you look at Ilya, and you actually get, because I actually did a little bit of research on this one, when you go on Trick Williams' cage match and look at the matches that he has had over the past year or so, there's a very, 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 because they do the Florida loop in NXT. It's not just what you see on TV. There are so few matches that he's had with people that are that level. And Ilya's one of few. And from watching various wrestlers develop over a long period of time, it seems obvious that having actual wrestling matches with really good wrestlers improves those wrestlers quite a bit. In my opinion, Trick hasn't had enough of those matches for him to improve to the degree that I think a lot of people would like to see. His match with Ridge, another guy who clearly has not had enough matches with top-notch guys for him to improve all that much. When you get two guys who really need a good opponent for the match to be really, really good, like the match was serviceable, okay? The match was serviceable. The crowd was into it because there were big stakes on the line. And they did a couple of gimmicky spots, like the rope and the neck spots, which I'm not a huge fan of, but they're professionals. They know what they're doing. And so Trick just doesn't have the experience wrestling those top tier guys. There will be a little bit of, I don't know, I guess trial by fire, trial by error, whatever. But here's the thing. The great thing is in WWE, they don't claim to be where the best wrestle. Trick has the size. He's got the look, the presentation, and he's got the promo. He's got all the ingredients, plus he can put on serviceable matches. That's all you need in WWE. Once he gets to main roster and then he's with, because dude, if you think about it, main roster is loaded with some really, really good talent. Once he gets there, because I don't think it's going to happen in NXT, I think it's probably more likely that we'll see Trick evolve in ring a lot quicker on main roster than in NXT. But he's got everything you need in WWE. It's going to be a while before he's in like the upper, although if they're smart, whenever he gets drafted, they'll treat him like a major fucking deal. And again, his matches are serviceable and they can be really, really good with the right opponent. There are tons of those types of opponents on main roster ready for him. So I kind of feel like this dude is totally ready for main roster. Once he gets there, and here's the thing, I'm also speaking from the standpoint of having massive expectations for him. I am on record. I have said that I think this guy will be a WrestleMania main eventer before all is said and done. And so you got to start looking at, okay, well, those WrestleMania main events, generally speaking, they want them to be good. And so this is a guy who's going to have to be at that level. But man, once he hits main roster, you start having matches with guys like Seth Rollins or whatever, his in-ring is going to get to where it needs to be. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. If you look at like Bianca Belair when she got to main roster, granted Bianca is like a once-in-a-generation talent. She was already really good, but she got to WrestleMania main event level after wrestling like Bayley and people like that. Then it's like, oh shit, now she's the Bianca that we know. So Trick is no Bianca Belair, but I think he can get there. I honestly think he can get there. And honestly, like he's handled all of this incredibly well already. No, look, and the thing about Ridge is nobody's going to expect Ridge to do a WrestleMania main event. Ridge is an interesting case because he's got a good look. That's kind of it. And I'm hoping that while he's in NXT, he can develop more. But like, I don't know. I guess he's further ahead now than when he got there. I guess he's maybe added a couple tricks to his bag. Maybe that was not a pun intended at all. But Ridge is a different case. That main of that, I'm sorry, it wasn't the main event. It doesn't deserve to be the main event. That title match was serviceable. They do need to line up. Like, honestly, I hope before, so I know Obafemi has the next title shot. Wouldn't shock me if he won. But like if Trick had like an extended program with like Wes Lee, then I think you would probably see more development there. If he had more time if he had a program with like an Axiom even, I think you'd see a lot of development there. I do. If he had an extended program because he had a couple matches with Pete Dunne, if they brought in Tyler Bate, who's a fucking wrestle guy, you know what I mean? That would help him. But he's got guys like Ridge I love Ethan Page, but Ethan Page, I'm sure Ethan Page could probably bring a top-level match if he's with a top-level guy, but he's not just an automatic top-level match guy. So, I don't know. I think he'll get there. I have all the confidence that Trick is going to get there. He's got right now what he needs to succeed. He'll get there to the in-ring stuff by being with a bunch of other people who are really good at the in-ring stuff. Gustavo Clarindo says, other than the Rumble, the Iron Survivor might be WWE's best stipulation match. I'll be honest with you, Gustavo. Iron Survivor might be WWE's best stipulation match, even including the Royal Rumble. It's a fucking awesome concept. It could use one of these other hot takes, and I'm going to try to get to it. I don't think I gave it the heart. But as I sit here thinking about it, it might need another 5 minutes within the match. It's a fucking awesome match. It is so easy to understand. The one thing about the match that was kind of exposed this time around was when a player refuses to go into the penalty box like Ethan Page did, there needs to be some consequences there. Like if they're not in that penalty box within a minute, they're chucked from the match. That's what there needs to be some, because he just was like, oh, I'm not going to go in there. And then they like threw him in there. But it's like the refs weren't doing anything to make him go into the penalty box. So I do think that's one minor, very, very minor thing that they should correct. But otherwise, this is one of my favorite stipulation matches. I think it's wildly fun. All right, this one is a cold take because everybody thumbs up this one. Portable Power Podcast. What a great name. It's alliterative. Says having 5 baby faces in the main and having none of them turn was just a really refreshing change from the normal WWE tropes. Felt like a real spirit of competition thing, kind of where everything looks good. No, I like that too. I thought that was good. It was all good guys. So, yeah, I agree with that. Also, tons of people here. And let's see if I can just stumble it. Here we go. This one right here. But this is not abnormal. A lot of comments about Ren Sinclair. W. Stein says Ren Sinclair is hilarious backstage and talented in the ring. She deserves more TV time, especially with Charlie Dempsey, who's acting more like his dad, William Regal. Sorry. I agree with this. Her face is one of the most emotive faces I have seen in NXT. The camera loves her. She's wildly good at her character. She's a really fun wrestler. I agree. Everybody's saying this is a cold as ice take. Ren Sinclair is great. Push her more. I agree. All right, we're going to end on this one. Some Blokes 2022 says Ridge Holland is up there with the best in-ring technicians. Honestly, I think he's up there with Omega and Brett. He's just incredible. I could be mistaken. This might be sarcasm. That's going to do it for this edition of Hot Takes. Thanks, everybody, for submitting yours. I appreciate it. Be sure you hit that subscribe button and the notify bell to make sure you're always notified whenever I'm going to be doing a Hot Takes thing. Also, if you want to post some stuff for me to react to over on the Reddit, the WrestleJuice Reddit is r/WREDDIT juice. Reddit juice. But with a W. I think that's what it is. Post some stuff there so I can react to it, because I think after Raw tomorrow, I'm going to be doing one of them reaction videos, because I'm sure something's going to happen on Raw tomorrow. There is a Raw tomorrow, so yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for this edition. We'll see you guys around. Hit that thumbs up. Don't do that.